Mother.
I feel like we can run the table. I really do.
Giants looking for a stop. They're going to air it out. Rodgers does this better than anybody. End zone. Cobb. Touchdown. Unbelievable. This to send the Packers into the NFC Championship game. It is good. The Packers are moving on. Aaron Rodgers has done it again.
Grassy Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you're not to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grassi, and I got nothing but bad news for you Packers fans, because with this loss, the Packers are systematically eliminated, or mathematically just about eliminated from the playoffs this year. If the Atlanta Falcons wind up winning tomorrow against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they will officially be eliminated from the playoffs. And man, did this hurt. This hurt a lot. Going through stats real quick. Rodgers, 26 for 45, looked rusty as hell. 290, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, ran for 43 yards on 6 attempts as well. Cobb got back into the game, 7 for 84 with a touchdown. Adams, 5 for 57 with a touchdown, but also went out for a concussion for a late hit by Thomas Davis. And I'm not going to lie, I gave up. I gave up before the onside kick. And it happened, and I thought maybe we could just pull off that magic again. Maybe we can get into overtime again. Maybe we can win again. We could pull it out at the last second. But it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. Let's go through the game. The first drive, Rodgers' first throw is completion. I was excited. Just great to see him back on the field. But that's when it started to go a little bit downhill, and that he missed a couple of passes. He was overthrowing people, or mostly underthrowing from what I was noticing, or just missing his targets. The Panthers' first drive, McCaffrey just ran all over this defense today. Easy touchdown for McCaffrey to bring us up 7-0. Rodgers then answered back with a touchdown to Davante to tie it up 7-7. Davante Adams, good God, that man is going to get paid so much money this offseason. Really just incredible. At this point, like, McCaffrey got the ball so many times in the first half that you would think maybe he would get covered a little bit. Olsen would basically take McCaffrey's place in the second half, but man, McCaffrey, he just destroyed us. The defense, though, I have to say, in the first half, they really weren't too bad. You know, with 9 minutes left in the half, they had a good defensive stance. They held them to a field goal. It was only 10-7. And then Rodgers started throwing some picks. I mean, the guy threw 3 interceptions. We had 4 turnovers on the day. That's not the defense's fault. I mean, for the majority of the times, they didn't allow any points to be given off of those. So I can't really blame them. Aaron Jones, he had a few big runs. You also had Williams, who had a few big runs. But overall, our run game really wasn't doing a whole lot. Aaron Rodgers was our second leading rusher here. Cobb with the right before the half with the amazing catch and run, 14-10. It's good to see Cobb back. I even wrote that the defense is solid this half. They were looking pretty good, but I mean, then the second half started. The second half was just terrible for them, in which we thought Rodgers would settle down, he'd be okay. Right off the bat, you have a blown coverage on Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's able to score and make the score 17-14. Rodgers throws yet another pick. Davante gets hit and taken out of the game by Thomas Davis, which was a launch and a helmet-to-helmet. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a fine coming Thomas Davis ways. Then there was the butt touchdown, which from first angle did not look like a touchdown at all, but then they were saying that there was like grass between his butt cheeks, and they gave it to him, and it made it 24-14. And at this point, things were looking pretty bad. But, I mean, how many of you were nervous every time Rodgers got hit? Because he took a couple huge shots, and it made me feel very, very uneasy. He then threw yet another pick, and that's his first 3-interception game since 2009. He's just underthrowing all of his guys. And again, while we had a lot of anticipation and hopes, and we were hyped up to see Aaron Rodgers come back, he came off a major surgery that most people wouldn't come back this season for. He was gone for 8 weeks. This is to be expected. With not much time left in the fourth quarter, they had to settle for a field goal. He underthrew Allison. That should have been a touchdown, but it's 24-17, and then the Panthers responded right back with a touchdown to Bird for 31-17. Just going to take a break at this point from the Packers game. The Minnesota Vikings, they did win, and they wound up clinching the NFC North. So that's something. But on an actual serious note, I want to congratulate Teddy Bridgewater for coming back. They were destroying the Bengals, so Bridgewater came back for the first time since his gruesome injury last year. So that was great to see him on the field because I wish Teddy Bridgewater nothing but the best. 5 minutes left, you saw Peppers sack Rodgers, but he protected him as he was going down, which is why I'll always love Julius Peppers. And then Rodgers to Rodgers with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left, 31-24. And I was like, oh, okay, but they still got to get an onside kick. And they got the onside kick. Christian McCaffrey, who had been catching the ball the entire time, winds up dropping it. I go, oh man, here we go. Here comes the magic. Here comes the overtime. This is going to be amazing. And then Geronimo Allison fumbled. Did he make a football move? Did he not? Is it an incomplete pass? I mean, it really is, at this point, it's anybody's guess. It really is. I mean, there's so much power with the refs these days. I'm not going to argue it. You know, they said that it was a fumble, so it's a fumble. It is what it is. But we're at the point where we're basically eliminated from the playoffs. The Packers aren't going to make it. This is like we made it 8 or 9 times in a row, and now not so much. It's disappointing. It really, really is. But if the Falcons win tomorrow night, we're definitely out. And if the Falcons win, I don't think there's any way that Aaron Rodgers plays against the Vikings on Saturday because there's just no reason to risk it, which makes that even more disappointing. But this is rough, man. This is rough. You know, you think that this team, you know, you felt it, and I've talked about it on the show, like you felt it that this was the team of destiny. We just find a way every single time. We ran the table last year. Aaron Rodgers coming back. We just pulled out 2 overtime wins against the Bucs and the Browns, and we weren't able to get it done. So this year we're most likely going to be sitting at home, and it will be an Aaron Rodgers-less playoff. The only thing that can make this worse is if the Vikings wind up making the Super Bowl. That's gonna be bad. This is it's gonna be a long playoffs if that's what happens. But I mean, for what it's worth, I enjoyed the season, and I obviously wish that things ended up differently. The defense really kind of blew it in the second half. I mean, we'll see what happens with Capers. I think he needs to go. I said this earlier this year. He had a few games where he was able to pull it off and stop teams from scoring, but against the good teams, we weren't able to do it. We weren't able to do it against the Falcons. We weren't able to do it against the Steelers. We weren't able to do it against the Panthers. I mean, we're beating guys like the Browns and the Bucs and the Bears. Like, we can't do that. I mean, that's just not... There's no way this team can make it to the Super Bowl just on Aaron Rodgers' back. And I think the fact that Rodgers came out even and said before this game, like, I'm not back to save this team. And I don't think we can expect him to. You can't just have one guy play every single position. So that's that. Also, I want to point out Jordy Nelson really, I think 4 catches on the day. Really didn't do too much. I expected a lot from him today. But wasn't able to do that. I mean, does that signal the end of Jordy? Is next year... Jordy was talking about he only had 2 to 3 more years left. You know, maybe next season's his last season. I don't know. He started off doing great with Rodgers. They had amazing chemistry. I'm not. This is not a Rodgers decline or anything like that. But you know, I'll be looking forward to next season and seeing him. Hopefully, you know, throwing the way that he used to. But we really need some help on defense, and I think that starts with firing Dom Capers. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. Obviously, a very disappointing podcast and disappointing season. But you can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Check out Packcast, which is this podcast, Packast. We're here 2 times a week. Every Thursday, we interview fans from the opposing teams every Thursday. So check that out. We're on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play Music. And we also do our predictions episode each week. This week, we will have a Vikings fan on. That should be a fun conversation as they play Saturday night, the night before Christmas Eve. But game's most likely not going to mean anything. But we're still going to do this show, damn it. And I'm still going to be as entertaining as humanly possible. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Sorry, Packers fans. This is rough. Maybe we'll get a good draft pick. We'll see. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.